Democratic operative. Every single Marianne Williamson supporter has used that excuse. She has to run Democrat, or RFK has to run Democrat because they won't get me attention. You want to see who getting prime time attention here? Some guy I can't stand. Jesse Waters. Now, let's let this video play as much as we can stomach. But Jesse Waters bring up a pretty important point. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. So I'm going to let the video play. I'm not going to preface this video a lot. But I'm going to show you guys how, if you're a big name, like we theorized, and you run third party, you can break through the blackout. Just out of the spectacle of the event. And that is what Justice Democrat sycophants refuse to acknowledge. They pretend that the media can just ignore a big name for the third party. It doesn't make sense. And plus, this is a point I'll say this before video. Plus, you guys forget that they pretend that Republicans won't take advantage. So this video is that. So how can the establishment ignore a third party when an entire Republican media apparatus is going to boost the third party and hope to hurt the Democrats? So the theory does not make sense at face value because of people like Jesse Waters. Imagine how many right-wingers are about to have Dr. Cornel West on because they think it's going to hurt Democrats. And that is what this segment is all about. And that's why the idea that third-party people wouldn't get media coverage was absurd. Now, watch this segment. This segment is like four days old now, but it's still worth playing. It's very fascinating. Listen. Let me turn it up. Probably like the first time I ever played Jesse Waters. He's pretty insufferable, but this segment is very interesting.
We like options. Walk down the grocery aisle. You got about 100 different brands of cereal. You can buy a car just about any shape, size, or color. You go to a diner, you can get anything from pancakes to rigatoni. Now, we have a ton of options in just about every aspect of our lives, except politics. And once you hit the general, you're left with two candidates, a Democrat and a Republican. And if you don't like either, you're out of luck. What about a third-party candidate? Back in 92, Ross Perot got 20% of the popular vote as a third-party candidate. He cost Bush the election.
Ross Perot struck a chord with voters and shook up America's political landscape in the process. In 1992 and 96, Ross Perot mobilized over 5 million voters to get him on the ballot and was the most successful third-party candidate in U.S. history.
A third-party candidate can be deadly in the general. Right now, half of Americans say they'd consider voting for a third party.
Half of Americans will consider voting for a third-party candidate. So with this fact known, how does it make sense for you as an anti-establishment person to run in the Democratic Party when half of the American populace are ready for a third-party candidate? That makes no sense, Marianne. That makes no sense, RFK. And we are not buying it no more. Those excuses makes no sense. Meanwhile, let's continue.
Party candidate if it's Trump versus Biden. So there's an open lane, and someone's sliding in. His name's Cornel West.
In bleak times, I have decided to run for truth and justice, which takes the form of running for president of the United States as a candidate for the People's Party.
And Cornel West's a far-left guy. There's an appetite on the left for a guy who's anti-war, anti-Wall Street, anti-big tech.
Bro, everyone sees it. This is fucking Jesse Waters saying the obvious, that the left is waiting for this shit instead of the squad. So as I continue to play the segment, I want you guys to realize that literally everyone sees what's going on here, except the Marianne Williamson left, though.
Mainstream socialists, AOC, Bernie, they've abandoned the people who voted for them once their party got in power. Now, Cornel is running with the People's Party, founded by one of Bernie's old staffers. The People's Party tried to recruit Bernie to run with him in 2020, but he thought he'd had a better chance running as a Democrat. Cornel doesn't trust the Democratic Party. He remembers how they kneecapped Bernie in 2016 and in 2020.
And the establishment of the Democratic Party that we almost pulled off with Brother Bernie. We almost pulled it off, and then they all came together. The call from Obama, Pete drops out, Amy drops out. Next thing you know, they said anybody but Bernie. Why? Those corporate interests were being challenged. Why? Those militaristic policies were being at least examined.
It's the difference between Cornell and Bernie is that Bernie gets really quiet when there's a Democrat in the White House. Cornell doesn't.
Dude, Bernie Sanders' reputation has been he literally destroyed his reputation. That's who Bernie Sanders. That's his reputation now. He's the guy who stays silent when a Democrat is a president. That was not Bernie's reputation pre-2015. He completely ruined him.
You know how in the gutter you have failed when Jesse Waters can call you out? Like, Jesse Waters is vile and disgusting. Like, if he can call you out, like, you have failed from your throne.
And we don't like Jesse Waters, but tell me what lie did he say in this segment thus far? He
said
that Bernie Sanders and AOC abandoned their movement. Guys, everyone across the political aisle see what Bernie and the squad did. So imagine how much of a cuck you have to be to still be a Nina Turner supporter like Jordan and the TYT crew after seeing how they betrayed us. Everyone sees it. I'll let it continue to play. This is actually a rare W from Jesse Waters here. Okay, saying the obvious.
Now we've got to deal with the neoliberal disaster of Biden and Harris, and we've got to be very honest about it.
But he's milquetoast because he still is tied to Wall Street. He's got crimes of foreign policy.
We know Biden wouldn't be there, since Harris wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the black vote. You didn't deliver for black people. You delivered for Wall Street.
Now, if you go up against the entire Democratic machine, there's consequences. You're going to get smeared, or maybe even worse.
Anytime you embark on a fallible pursuit of truth and justice, you focus on what you can do, how you can cultivate your own gifts and work with others in community in order to be a force for good. That you're always going to be misunderstood, misconstrued. You're always going to be attacked. There'll be character assassination, may even be a literal assassination. You just don't know.
RFK Jr., someone who knows a lot about political assassinations, already took a big bite out of Biden's base. Now, he's running as a Democrat and was polling at around 20%, but that was before primetime officially uninvited him. Now, Cornell's in the mix. He can suck up the far-left Democrats who are done with Joe, and there's a racial factor here, too. Biden's bleeding black and Hispanic voters. They thought they'd be better off under Biden, and now they realize they're dead wrong. That's a huge opportunity for Cornell. But he has an uphill battle. Unlike Ross Perot, Cornell's not a billionaire who can become a household name by buying up airtime. And to get on the ballot, Cornell needs to get thousands of signatures across all 50 states. That means he needs to put together an organized team with a strong ground game. Can the People's Party pull that off? We'll see. If there was ever a time to uproot the Democratic Party, it's now. Joe Biden's weak.
We need a new president.
This fucking guy.
There have been times where you've looked at him and you said...
So just real quick, the right wing brought Stephen A. Smith out, and there was headlines everywhere where Stephen A. Smith like Joe Biden shouldn't run for president. And then I looked at it, and of course there was zero material analysis there. This guy came out and was like, Biden too old, he shouldn't be president. There was no analysis of why Biden should be. A shadow of analysis you can get. But anyway, sorry, I'll let it play.
I don't know. There are responsibilities that are far, far, far more extensive than, let's say, the typical 9 to 5 that somebody in their 80s may not need to be doing.
That's the only argument he makes.
I think the presidency is one of them.
Now, Joe Biden's getting hit head on by his own party, and Republicans finally found a line of attack that cuts right to the heart of the race. Listen.
Let's be very clear. If they think it's going to be President Biden, a vote for President Biden is actually a vote for President Harris. We are running against Kamala Harris. Make no bones about it.
That's
the
true.
New York Times knows it. Every liberal knows it. They know that it's Kamala Harris that's going to end up being president of the United States if Joe Biden wins this election.
We are running against Kamala Harris right there. That's brilliant framing by Haley. It forces the Democrats into a space that hurts them. How do Democrats respond? Well, they have to talk about Biden's age, health, and mental capacity, and then they have to acknowledge that Kamala is next in line and defend Kamala Harris's capabilities. This is an incredibly awkward position for Democrats to be in. Binder was asked about this today, and she came up empty.
She also said that a vote for President Biden is a vote for Vice President Kamala Harris. What do you say to anyone who is questioning whether the president would survive a full 4-year term?
I'm not going to comment on the 2024. She is a candidate, so I want to be very careful here. We do follow the Hatch Act, so I want to be really, really mindful here.
The lady Biden hired to communicate can't communicate, and the lady he hired to be vice president can't be president. Joe Biden's entire family's under investigation. The
That
country thinks the
picture.
economy's garbage.
But yeah, that's pretty much the segment's essentially over. But that was Jesse Waters explaining the problems that the Democrats have because they have RFK in a John Chunk. But Dr. Cornel West is a unique threat because what did we say, CJ? We need a mechanism that will get Black people used to not voting Democrat. What if he could be a potential launch-off pad where people will be like, all right, I don't have to vote Democrat. They're not options. See, my people already know that, right? But not everyone reached that conclusion. People tired of Joe Biden. They see Dr. Cornel West like, all right, well, what if we start something new here? Well, we start, and when you look at the Green Party, which this is why I voted the way I did in 2020, because they supported reparations. They supported cutting the military budget by 70%. Like, these are real left policies that actually will help the Black community.